Hello, SquirrelTribe. I don't know if you guys have heard what's happened with Elon Musk, but I think he has officially lost his mind because he has started his own political party. So now not just the Democrats, the Republicans, and the Independents, but now we also have the America Party, which this isn't the first time that Elon Musk has talked about it. He mentioned an America Party in the very beginning of his transition from Democrat to Republican. He mentioned there should be a whole new party, and he has now officially done it. The paperwork has been filed. It is real. It is happening. This is the form here. You guys can see here. This is the Federal Election Commission, the FEC Form 1 for Statement of Organization, and this is for America Party. You guys can read all this information here. But what's interesting is that this is the person behind the America Party. Not even Elon Musk. Elon Musk is the face of it, but this is the man behind it. So the FEC paperwork has been filed to create the America Party, but the listed treasurer is an Indian-born man named Vaibhav Taneja, or however you say his name. I'm really bad with names, and it's not on purpose. But I, of course, am curious how you feel about this. How do you feel about Elon Musk undermining President Trump? Because that's what it feels like when he goes to make this America Party, because technically the whole point of President Trump is his America First. Therefore, he would technically be what we would consider the head of the America Party, because he is all about making America great again, making America healthy again, all these other things. So for Elon to come out and start the America Party feels a little slap in the face-ish to President Trump, in my personal opinion. That is just my opinion. But the fact that it has been done, the America Party is official. It is a legit thing. And it says here, this committee opposes only one candidate and is not an authorized committee. And then it says candidate name, Elon Reeve Musk. So I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen with this. It has been filed. It is considered official. We'll see what happens from there. The odds that it takes any kind of, gets any kind of footing when it comes to elections, very, very small, very, very tiny. That's why this to me feels more like a look at me gimmick. Elon Musk, as much as he did help during the whole election process when it comes to helping people understand why President Trump was the best option for President of the United States of America over Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, bless it. He seems to have changed his mind numerous times on how he feels about President Trump, on how he feels about the Republicans in general, how he feels about not being given more than he already has been given, in the sense of power or a voice or a say-so or a face amongst everything, right? Elon Musk, for not being a political person, had a lot of say-so in things that have gone on since November 5th, and especially since January 20th. I mean, DOJ, Department of Government Efficiency, everything there. And now for him to have started his own party, I'm not a fan of it personally. That's my thought. I'm not a huge fan of this, but we'll see where it goes. This could either be something that will unify more people. It could easily pull more people apart, pull people from the Republican side who aren't feeling it right now after this one big beautiful bill was passed, who aren't fans of some of the things that are in there, who feel like it's going to harm them more than it's going to hurt them. I do know that a lot of people who are against the one big beautiful bill are probably looking at it from a standpoint of what they've been told through mainstream media, which mainstream media is run by more of left organizations. So you have to take everything with a grain of salt, obviously, but you should always do your own research and look into a bunch of different things to make sure you fully understand what's going on. I'm still myself trying to understand every aspect of the one big beautiful bill. Do I agree with the entire thing? No. Do I agree with every single thing President Trump does? No. Do I agree with every single thing that I end up doing? No. Sometimes I make bad decisions. I don't agree with everything my husband does, my daughter does, my mother does, people in general. It's okay to not be 100% on board with something somebody does, right? There's no way you're going to agree with every single thing the president does, but I feel like what Elon Musk is doing right now is a very childish, but that is my just my opinion. You do not have to agree with that, but I do feel that it is very childish. Now, speaking of childish, some people will say childish. Marjorie Taylor Greene, you guys know who she is. She's a Republican congresswoman out of Georgia. Well, she's been very vocal for the past 24 or 48 hours. This new one that she came out with, she says, I want you guys to hear this. She says, I'm introducing a bill that prohibits the injection, release, or dispersion of chemicals or substances into the atmosphere for the express purpose of altering weather, temperature, climate, or sunlight intensity. It will be a felony offense. She goes, I have been researching weather modification and working with the Legislative Council for months writing this bill. It will be similar to Florida's Senate Bill 56, which here in Florida, I believe Senate Bill 56 was where Ron DeSantis made it so that there could be no cloud seeding, no chemical, no, what's the word? Come on, brain, do your job. No chemtrails kind of things. He signed into law that we cannot have that here in Florida. She says we must end the dangerous and deadly practice of weather modification and geoengineering. And the reason she's bringing this up is because of the flooding that has just happened in Texas, where it's, it's absolutely horrific. We'll do that a little bit later because it's a lot to wrap your mind around, looking at it from the in-your-face version of it versus the what a lot of us feel and think after what happened in Lahaina, after what happened in East Palisades in LA, and what has happened in numerous other places around this country and in Canada when it comes to wildfires and these, don't forget North Carolina after Hurricane Helene, all these things that they look like a natural occurrence until you step back and look at things that transpired leading up to this natural occurrence, and then it makes you question everything. So we'll do a whole video on that later, but I believe that Marjorie Taylor Greene has the right idea when she says she wants to make it a felony for these things, but you're going to have a lot of people who aren't going to agree because they're going to say that weather modification is necessary for crop growth and for everything else because we've had such dry summers or such rainy whatever, springs, falls, whatever, that without weather modification we're gonna have trouble growing things. That's been a lot of talk for a lot of people. So when she brings this up, I of course am paying attention to it. Now the other thing that she brought up, which is what I wanted to talk to you guys about specifically, so she also announced plans to introduce legislation requiring the U.S. Census to count only American citizens. Now, I am new to paying attention to politics. I've only been paying attention for probably roughly 2-3 years since leaving Georgia and moving to Florida during the whole COVID fiasco pandemic thing. This is when I really opened my eyes to what was actually going on as opposed to what they wanted us to believe was going on with our government, with the world and everything else. So I've been paying more attention and I'm trying to learn. I do not know the entire thing about the Constitution. I do not know all of the Constitution. I do, though. When we moved here, my daughter in 7th grade had to take civics class, which in Georgia was not even an option. They didn't talk about the Constitution in Georgia. So here in Florida, she took civics class, and she would come home after school and we would discuss certain things. And I remember one of the things we talked about was the Electoral College, especially leading up until November 5th. You know, when I'm here talking with you about all of the politics behind it with, between President Trump and J.D. Vance and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris had done to this country versus when Trump was in office the first time, him and Mike Pence, and then even back to Bill Clinton and then George Bush and all these other things, right? We talked about how the amount of people in this country determine, or in specific states determine kind of who has the upper hand when it comes time to vote for the president and the Electoral College and things like that. So when I see this from Marjorie Taylor Greene that she wants to introduce legislation requiring the U.S. Census to count only American citizens, my first thought is it's about damn time, and why is this not already a law, right? Well, because you have the 14th Amendment, Section 2. And I just want to go over a couple different things with you. First, I replied to this on X, Marjorie Taylor Greene's comments about the legislation requiring the U.S. Census to count only American citizens. And I said, the fact that it isn't a law boggles my mind. And Jason over on X posted, 1960 and prior, U.S. Census had boxes that asked race, birthplace, and is he naturalized? Pretty sure the Civil Rights Act of 1964 deemed the questions to be racist, and it was removed for 1970. The original intention of the census was to track population and immigration. And you guys can see this is kind of like a picture here of a 1950 census, and it asks all these different questions. It wants to know what state or foreign country were you born in. They want all the names of the people in your household. They want to know what sex you are, where you were born, things like that. How old were they on the their last birthday, because the census is done every 10 years. So then I start looking things up because I'm curious, right? I'm curious how this works, because in my mind, it would make sense that you would only pay attention to the American citizens, because we should be the only ones that have a say in any of our elections, whether it's at the top for the president or it's, on your school board, what top to bottom and all in the middle, it should be U.S. citizens that are making these decisions. And I understand that that is something that a lot of people feel differently about, because they're saying, illegal immigrants, they may not pay regular taxes, but if they have a fake Social Security, or if they have a work visa kind of thing, they have a number, they pay taxes through that. When they go out and buy things, they're paying state tax. When they rent a house, the money they're paying goes towards property tax. So technically they pay taxes, right? But what was crazy to me is looking at this, you can see how the last 4 years, the Biden-Harris administration literally opened up the borders to allow more people in, because the next census is coming up, and the more people they have in certain areas, i.e. sanctuary cities or blue states, the more representatives they will have allotted to them, therefore the more electoral college votes they will have, and the better chance they have of winning a Democrat presidency. Because if it was based off American citizens, guess what's not going to win? Democrats. As you can see from the previous election, when the Republicans stood up and yelled from the mountaintops, we are not doing this shit anymore, and they put President Trump back into place. The Constitution was written so very long ago, and I fully understand that it is what our entire country is based off of, which is why when I read this certain part about the 14th Amendment, Section 2, it makes me question why we are counting illegal immigrants in our census. So, according to this, let me just read this to you. Because I asked, out of curiosity, because you got to learn, is the U.S. Census in the Constitution? If you've never learned about the Constitution or read it or know what's going on there, it's a legit question, right? And this way I can inform other people who may not have the information as well. Not everybody here knows everything. The best way to learn is to have the conversations, right? So, yes, the U.S. Census is in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, 1, 2, 3, mandates an actual enumeration of the population every 10 years to apportion seats in the House of Representatives. And this is what it says. The actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years after the first meeting of the Congress of the United States, and within every subsequent term of 10 years, in such manner as they shall by law direct. Now, what's crazy to me is if we're doing a new census every 10 years, why don't we have term limits, which is a new thing. A lot of states have now jumped on board with wanting to ratify the Constitution. I think ratify is the right word. The Constitution, to add term limits in, because, like good old Chucky Schumer and Senator Elizabeth Warren and what's his name, Bernie Sanders, they've been in there since forever and a day. They are crypt keeping in their areas, and it's crazy. But anyway, so I asked, is the U.S. Census, the whole point is to determine the amount of state representatives, correct? And it says, yes, representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states which may be included within this union according to their respective numbers. The actual enumeration shall be made within 3 years, blah, 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 right? The census counts the population to allocate the number of House seats each state receives, ensuring representation reflects population size. It also informs the distribution of direct taxes, though this aspect is less relevant today, is what it says. So then I asked the question, why are illegal immigrants counted in the census? Because I wanted to know. And it says here, illegal immigrants or undocumented non-citizens are counted in the U.S. Census because the Constitution mandates an actual enumeration. All right, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. Of all persons, not just citizens, for apportionment purposes. So when I always say, like Elizabeth Warren and whatever else, I'm like, citizens matter. And people will say, well, the Constitution says persons, not citizens. And I'm like, I understand that, but we have come so far and our country has been overrun by so many people who are not citizens that I feel like now at this day and time, 2025, we need to make a distinction between U.S. citizens and non-citizens. It is imperative to our future well-being that we focus on the people who using the word belong here sounds really wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I understand how wrong it sounds, but it's accurate. It's the right word. Okay. So it says here, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 that we talked about, specifies that representatives be appointed based on the whole number of persons in each state without restricting the count to citizens. The 14th Amendment, this is what gets me, okay? This is the part that makes me pause and go, I feel like this 14th Amendment, Section 2, is what needs to be discussed right now, okay? It says here, 14th Amendment, Section 2 reinforces this by referencing, which is what it says in the Constitution, the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed. Now, this was written, forever and a day ago, so it's old. Indians not taxed. But if you were to look at that in today's terms, these illegal immigrants who are not paying taxes, who don't have a work visa, who aren't paying into, like, getting a paycheck every single week and paying taxes on it, my personal belief, I don't think they should be counted in the census. Yes, they are paying state tax when they go buy something, but they're also buying it with money they shouldn't have, because they shouldn't be here getting paid cash under a table to do a job that could go to an actual citizen of the United States of America. And again, I understand how it sounds, but I don't give a shit. Like, at the end of the day, I don't, because if you look at other countries and you can see how they're being overtaken by a lot of different immigrants, illegal immigrants, you can see the destruction. Why does our country look at other countries and go, oh man, that's awful, but when we're here they go, oh no, that's the way it should be, we should let everybody in and take care of everybody and screw the citizens. When it comes time for the census, I feel like there should be a clarification of the 14th Amendment, Section 2. Even in the original, that sounds stupid to say, they were basing the census on the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed. Why excluding Indians not taxed, right? Obviously, they don't want to count them as part of the census because they either looked at them because they're Indians or because they weren't paying into what the union was at the time. They didn't count. And to me, illegal immigrants should not count. And I fully understand it sounds hateful and it's not meant to. But when they are using it now to falsify their numbers so that they can try to steal elections from the bottom all the way up to the top, something needs to be done about that, right? That's how I feel about it, my personal thought. So when Marjorie Taylor Greene says that she wants to make it so that the census is only about U.S. citizens, I agree with that to an extent. We should know everybody that's here. You should 100% know everybody that's here, but it should be a census of citizens versus non-citizens, and then your House of Representatives should be based on your citizens, not on the total number. And that's how I feel about it. It's a very weird conversation to have, a hard conversation to have. I understand that, but I wanted to have it anyway because I think it's important, and I'm curious how many people agree with me or disagree with me, and it's okay either way. If we all had the same opinion, this place would be boring as hell. I understand that. So if you disagree, that's fine. If you agree, that's great, whatever. But do you see it the way I see it? When you look at the 14th Amendment, Section 2, and it specifically says not including Indians not taxed, does that not make your mind go, not including illegal immigrants not taxed, like not paying into the government money? Like, that sounds stupid when you say it like that, but that is what it is. The government's taking our money. Anyway, whole different topic. That's all. I tried to go live 4 times and YouTube will not allow it today. The first 2 times the screen was black. The second 2 times it just would not connect at all. I went to numerous different places, so it's a YouTube issue for me today, not a location issue. So that's why we're doing this here, because I would have much rather had this conversation live with y'all in the live chat, because this is something I feel needs to be an actual discussion as opposed to just me talking to you, right? Like, I would have rather it been a back and forth kind of situation. So hopefully tomorrow YouTube will get its head out its liberal leftist butt and we can get this worked out and have the conversation a little bit more like an extended version of it tomorrow live. So that's the hope. We'll talk about a lot of other things tomorrow if we can go live as well. I prefer certain conversations, like I said, to be one-on-one or one on however many are watching. But besides that, I have a raging headache, so I'm now going to go home, drink some electrolytes, eat some protein, take a nap kind of thing. And I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your day until I see you again. I love you all. Goodbye.